everyone, welcome to the Goose channel here. It's been a while. I feel as though I say it's a lot, probably too much. But welcome to the channel. Today we're reacting to top 10 best death scenes in recent horror movies. So, take a stab, fish, Trace, we're going to be in here, one of the coolest kills I've ever seen. So we're going to react to it, have a little chat to it afterwards, and yeah, let's get into it, guys. Top 10 best death scenes in recent horror movies. Let's go.
An entire cinematic business model is built around filmmakers dreaming up creatively disgusting death scenes, and over the last year or so, these are the ones that have left the biggest
that's from
impact.
the Book of Saul.
I'm Josh from What Culture Horror, and these are the 10 best death scenes in recent
Feels like What
movies.
Culture, I cover everything
10,
in the world.
The wine bottle shoved down the throat. Freaky. Christopher Landon's body swap slasher comedy is packed to the gills with memorably ridiculous death scenes,
Underrated,
serving as a nod to the creatively disgusting murder set pieces in the Friday the 13th movies. Yet, Freaky also gets its very best kill out of the way in its opening sequence, where the Blissfield Butcher, played by none other than Vince Vaughn, hunts down a gang of teenagers before cornering one of them, Isaac, in a wine cellar. The Butcher then grabs a wine bottle and shoves it down the poor kid's throat, causing a vile bulge to
those
protrude
prosthetics,
from his
man.
neck.
It looks
Isaac
real.
chokes on the bottle, the Butcher finishes the job by smacking Isaac's jaw shut, sending the bottle's glass splintering through
I don't know if that's
his
actually,
throat
that would happen in real life, but that's dope.
Dismembered by a pair of jeans, slacks.
Never seen
Slacks
this.
is distinguished as the only horror movie in history centered around a pair of possessed jeans which murder the employees of a clothing store in a host of creative
Can't
ways.
say I'm
Picking just one death
to watch
isn't easy then, though the highlight surely has to be the prolonged demise of poor Lord, who upon inspecting the murderous pair of jeans gets mauled by them. The jeans, approximating the physicality of a rabid dog, leap on Lord and bite off both his hands,
Has it got teeth, has it?
before jumping on his neck and severing his head from his body. Because that's not insane enough, we then see the jeans lapping up the giant pool of blood left by Lord's remains, and in a possible homage to David Fincher's
He's too
Seven,
silly
his
for me.
boss then stumbles upon his dismembered remains packed neatly into a box. Number 8. The glass grinder trap spiral from the Book of Saw.
This is good.
From the Book of Saw may have been a mostly disappointing attempt to revitalize the dormant horror franchise, but it did at least deliver one memorably wince-inducing death scene. While most of the movie's traps were a little on the tame side, the climactic glass trap felt like a welcome callback to some of the series' most creatively grim concoctions. Near the end of the film, protagonist Zeke discovers corrupt cop and former partner Peter Dunleavy chained up in front of a glass-crushing machine, which has been modified to hurl the glass shards at Peter's body. Cue a nauseatingly prolonged sequence in which Peter's torso is cut to shreds by the crushed glass, causing him to bleed to death while Zeke...
This one's realistic. Like, I feel as though like this could actually be done if someone wanted to take the time to kill someone this way.
Any of the trap in the film, this harkened back to the series' lean, mean torture porn origins. Number 7, Nicolas Cage curb stomps an animatronic gorilla into a urinal.
Nicolas Cage is into seriously crazy movies. I recommend them though.
Ridiculous horror films of the year, and a deranged high point in Nicolas Cage's increasingly unhinged corpus of wacky genre films. Cage here stars as a silent, unnamed janitor who is tricked into cleaning up an abandoned amusement center haunted by 8 killer animatronic monsters.
It's a cool storyline, you know.
An unofficial adaptation of Five Nights at Freddy's. The film is remembered largely for the animatronic mascots brutally murdering a group of teens who sneak into Willy's Wonderland, and also Cage wordlessly dismantling the mascots with all of his savage might. The easy highlight, though, occurs when the janitor takes a trip to the bathroom and faces off against Gus, a tie-wearing animatronic gorilla. The
That'd be so scary.
manages to overpower Gus eventually, finishing the job by curb-stomping his head into a urinal, splattering his black blood over
So they have blood? That's what I don't understand. These pups have blood?
Number 6. Maud burns herself alive. Saint Maud. Saint Maud is one of the greatest horror films of the last few years. A mesmerizing portrait of a young Roman Catholic woman, Maud, who becomes obsessed with trying to save the soul of the dying woman she's caring for, Amanda. At the end of the film, Maud murders Amanda, who she believes to be a demonic presence, and now imagines herself sporting angel wings. As she believes she's now proven herself to God by murdering the demonic entity, she walks onto the nearby beach, douses herself in acetone, and then strikes a match, believing this will allow her to transcend her human form and become a saintly angel. From Maud's perspective, she sees herself bathed in ethereal light as onlookers on the beach bow down to her. In the final shot of the movie, however, we cut back to the reality of the situation where Maud is screaming in agony as she burns to death. Although we only see a brief flash of Maud's charred body continuing to burn, it's nothing short of pure nightmare fuel, in turn delivering one of the...
It's like, it's not like gruesome or like fucked up killer like on screen wise. It's like the thought process is pretty fucked up. Like, this woman in her head thinks she's doing one thing, but in reality she's doing another thing, like burning alive, and it's a horrible thing. So it's kind of like a more thought process type of kill that kind of fucks you up like later, like while you're still thinking about the movie, think about the kill. Crazy.
Most unforgettable endings to any horror film in recent memory.
Well, that's up there,
Adam's
ending-wise.
face gets clubbed to pieces. Wrong Turn. The recent Wrong Turn reboot may not have been
This movie's
a
shit.
great movie, but it was certainly better than many expected, in large
Not
part
really.
thanks to its dedication to revolting, practically executed death scenes. The easy winner of the bunch, though, is the horrifying demise of
This is
Adam,
hectic.
who, after killing the mountain settler known as Elk Skull, is put on trial by the community for his act. Their leader, Venable, unsurprisingly finds Adam guilty and sentences him to death, which is carried out a few moments later in front of his friends, no less. As they helplessly look on, Venable uses a log to bludgeon Adam to death, as director Mike P. Nelson lingers on one impact shot where...
Can we appreciate that cut? Like, can we just go back and just appreciate that cut? See if I miss it here. Like, have a look. It's enough for you to look at it like, oh, that's fucked, but it's not overdoing it and showing it too much. You gotta appreciate the cut. The editing is unreal. I will admit that. I hate this movie, but...
out a few moments
have a look.
later in front of his friends, no less. As they helplessly look on, Venable uses a log to bludgeon Adam to death, as director Mike P. Nelson lingers on one...
That's amazing
shot where
editing.
Adam's face completely breaks apart, much to his friends' disgust. Curiously, though, Nelson originally intended not to cut away from Adam's death at all, and show the gradual destruction of his face, but after the MPAA slapped this cut of the movie with the dreaded NC-17 rating, he dialed it back a bit. Number 4. Contorted to Death, The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It.
This has been
The
done
third
before,
Conjuring
though.
didn't quite live up to the quality of its predecessors, but
Probably
it's
not
still
as
delivering
well,
enough
but
supernatural
it's
thrills
been
to be a
done.
worthwhile
Top
watch
5? I don't
for
know.
fans of the series. One of its highlights occurs right at the end of the film as well, when the occultist Isla is brutally murdered by the very demon she herself summoned. Because she failed to complete the curse she raised the demon for, the demon turns on her and collects
This
her
movie was
soul
disappointing,
instead,
but
which
they
she
set the bar
achieves
too
by
high.
painfully contorting her body, snapping her fingers, limbs, and finally her neck until she...
So I hope it's in the top 3, because it's a better kill than this. If anyone's seen Old, okay, spoilers, if you haven't seen Old yet, there's a scene where she's in the cave and her bones break and she's aging as it happens. Much better than this scene. But I think this video was probably released a bit too early for Old to be in this. But it's a much better kill than this.
He dies. It's far from the most gratuitous death you'll see in an R-rated horror movie this year, but thanks to bone-crunching sound editing and some stellar effects work, you still feel every moment of it. Number 3, turned into a human speaker, Sound of Violence.
Haven't seen
Cult
this.
slasher film Sound of Violence follows
This sounds
Alexis, a traumatized young woman who, after recovering her lost hearing, discovers she possesses synesthetic abilities. That means Alexis experiences aesthetic pleasure whenever she hears human suffering, and so embarks on a killing spree in an attempt to assemble her
It's original.
musical masterpiece. The film features a number of memorable death scenes, such as a delightful sequence where she explodes a man's head, but the highlight must surely be the creatively insane
watch this.
climax, where Alexis murders her best pal Marie. In the film's final scene, Alexis performs impromptu surgery on Marie, turning her into a human speaker by surgically grafting woofers onto her body. Alexis then uses Marie's body to broadcast her masterpiece, and the effects of the bass presumably cause massive hemorrhaging to Marie's internal organs as she quickly collapses to the floor and dies. Number 2, a face
That was
eaten
graphic.
by a zombie tiger.
was
Army of the
graphic.
Dead. Everyone loves watching the arsehole of a piece bite the big one, and for all of its flaws, Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead certainly delivered an unforgettable
This movie
death
is good to
for one of its
look at,
most
I will
loathsome
say that. It's very good to look at.
Martin, the most dubiously motivated member of the central heist, ends up getting his comeuppance in the third act when he's surprised and mauled by, a zombified tiger.
CGI isn't great, though.
Death by any means, though.
Not
Snyder,
great.
of course, lingers on Martin being thrown around by the ravenous tiger, which effortlessly concusses him as he tries to fight back. The tiger then gnaws away at Martin's face and torso before finally finishing the job by biting his face clean off, leaving a gore-soaked human skull behind. I don't know why I said human skull there. That wasn't in the script. It wouldn't be an animal skull, would it? That would be such a twist if it was, though. Anyway, again, Snyder shies away from no grisly detail, confirming that there's absolutely no chance in hell of Martin coming back as a zombie in the recently confirmed sequel. Number 1, Death by Bread Slicer.
Oh, okay.
1990.
Before I even see this, if you haven't watched the Fear Street movies, watch them before you finish watching this clip. They are very good. They're probably not going to be the best trilogy you'll see, but I think if you didn't watch them as they came out every week, every Friday night here in Australia, you missed out on the experience. It was a really cool, unique experience going back to the days of, the 70s, 80s, and even 90s of watching these movies come out on TV. They don't really do a lot of made-to-TV because kind of Netflix and streaming service kind of confused it all, but this is just a really cool thing to experience. Was the 3 different movies of a trilogy released every week. It was really cool, and this kill's just amazing. I'll stop babbling, but it is a very cool kill.
And finally, the recently released Fear Street Part 1 1994 boasts one of the most creative and downright effed up deaths in any horror movie from the last few years, when poor Kate has her head shoved through a bread slicer by the skull mask wearing Shadyside killer. Director Lee Janiak refreshingly refuses to cut away, staying with Kate as she's...
And it's surprising, I didn't think that she was gonna die.
Huge chunks of her bloodied scalp to spurt.
Incredible shot.
She's fatally sliced.
Incredible shot, doesn't cut away too early.
Impressive technical execution and the heartbreak of one of the series' most likable characters being dispatched so suddenly. This is a death scene nobody's going to be forgetting anytime soon. Amusingly as well, Netflix even carried out their own investigation to see whether or not a bread slicer could indeed cut a human head apart, and well, you'll have to seek the answers to that.
Probably not to that extent, I'd say. Alright guys, that's the end of the video, and like I said, a lot of these I probably don't agree with, a few I do. Maybe the order was probably a bit out, but maybe that's just because there haven't been that many great movie deaths / kills, or even horror movies in general, like in recent years. I don't know really what their barometer was of recent. I think from the list, 10 or less, I think. Maybe a little bit less, 8 or less years. There have been some really good horror movies come out. But if they had good deaths or not is a different thing, because not obviously, all horror movies are really graphic or slasher in any type. But I agree, number 1, I think the bread slice death is probably in the top 20 horror movie kills of all time, in my opinion. But anyway, we'll wrap that video up. I'll be doing a lot more reactions. I'll be going back to my movie fight scene reactions, more top 10 lists like this, kind of horror movie based. I do have my podcast going. I do have my movie channel. I stream a lot, so the link is in the description. If you want to see more and keep up with me, please subscribe to my channel. And if you like this video in particular, please comment down below to let me know your thoughts, if you agree with this or not, and hit that like button, guys. And as always, I'm Goose. Have a good one.